All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. This is Rob here at Smirking Gun, and we are back talking Critical Role Campaign 4, and we're on episode 2. We did our halftime show at the break on Thursday night, and as promised, I'm going to be here covering the whole episode of Campaign 4, episode 2. Full spoilers that I couldn't get into at the halftime show. And I still plan to keep doing the halftime show. I think it's a fun thing to do to just be like, what? And this show already has tons of what. And I didn't actually finish Thursday night. I was so tired. It's been a week. I went to New York to the live show and had to turn around and come back on a plane the next day. And then I it's just been a lot. And I just donated plasma earlier this morning. So, and then finished watching right now. And I had my friend telling me something crazy happens. And I wanted to watch last night. And I still went, you know what? I'm going to finish this morning on Saturday morning. And then I'm just going to go right in fresh with all the information in my brain. But I did take notes. So if, just let's hit the like and subscribe button because I'm covering it, baby. I'm covering Campaign 4, as crazy as it all is, and how many different tables we're going to have, and how many different characters to remember, and how many different classes and everything. I'm going to try to tackle it because I really love Critical Role, and I've really been wanting to talk about it and make it a part of my channel. So, Broken Wing. All right, I talked about the cold open, but I didn't get to talk about it. So this looks like maybe the Falconers rebellion going on here that happens at the beginning. I love it. I love it. I was like, as soon as they started, I thought it was going to be. I didn't think we'd get a cold open, to be honest. I thought if we were going to get a cold open, I thought we were going to go right back to where we were, which is where we end up after the cold open. But I thought we were going to jump right into the mask and the coffin and all of that. But they're doing things different. This story is big and has lots of stuff to it. And it's Brennan DMing, and he is fleshing this stuff out, kind of like watching an episode of TV where they like show something from the past, and then after the credits roll, the beginning credits, they'll say 4 months later, except this would be like 15 or however many years ago the Falconers Rebellion was. If it was the Falconers Rebellion, it could have been the Shapers War. It could have been. There's another fight that somebody was talking about. I think Julian and his dad talked about a fight that they had where Thiazi was involved in. Lots of fights, but whatever fight this was, right? We get to see some action. We get to see some crazy stuff going on. We also get to see Pixie Rogues in action with Thimble going up and stabbing people. I love it. But this is where we get, like, I really feel like the importance of the scene isn't just to put everybody that has fought together. I think that this was to show Casimir, right? That Thiazi gets hurt on the battlefield, and he's brought, by this huge dude that turns out to be Casimir, one of the people that was supposed to help get Thiazi out of town at his execution. Him and Tior's brother, who he hasn't seen in like 5 years, Sid, are both missing in action. So I feel like they're presenting Casimir as this, like, look, I saved Thiazi in this moment, in the heat of battle, in a war. I did, I saved somebody, and that's heroic. But to me, that doesn't mean that, things change in life. People come and go. Your relationships with people change by choices you make. And Casimir, we find out, is like a smuggler. So as a smuggler, all right, if we look at our, like, what do we know about smugglers that we've seen in fiction, right? They're out for themselves. They'll take, there's not a lot of, you have to make good deals with people. You have to have certain relationships with people. Playing Star Wars Outlaws has helped me think about this a little bit, where you have people that you side with and don't side with. You have difficult, complicated relationships with people that can ebb and flow depending on your choices that you make. One day somebody might love you. Next day somebody might be wanting to put a contract out on your life. So just showing that moment doesn't convince me of anything. If anything, it makes me want to look harder at the fact that he could very well be the person who betrayed them. But I was talking about heist movies and how the drivers in a lot of heist movies, they don't, well, in heist movies, period, there's not a lot of criminals that get away. But the driver usually ends up, he's the one who falls asleep at the wheel or something like that. But we also find out from Tior that his brother's not a very reliable person. And that even though they're on the right side of something, or at least they're on the right side of Tiazi's thing, right? Or as far as we know, I'm leaning towards this, that it could be both things. That it could be both, like Sid's maybe, I don't think Sid's alive. If he is, great. But I also don't think that Casimir, I think that Casimir isn't necessarily, I think he might be the person who betrayed them. Let's say he needs something smuggled, and somebody says, hey, we'll let you have free reign to do something, but we need you to stop Diazi from being able to get out. We want you to give us access. You're going to need to betray your friends that you helped in war, but we need you to do this so that you can do that. And what if Sid found out and they had to get rid of him? Because he's supposed to be sitting there waiting. And if they already knew this anyway, right, he could be in a prison somewhere. Well, why keep him in a prison when you can just kill him? Story-wise, right, it's dramatic if you have suddenly this moment where, Tior finds him in a dungeon cell somewhere or something, like, brother. But I don't know. What do you guys think about all that? Because I do think it's kind of a red herring. I don't know if it's a deliberate red herring, if it's just supposed to be presented as this is our first introduction to Casimir, and we see him as a heroic kind of figure. But again, a lot of these people in this story, right, depending on what time period it was in, they loved you or now they hate you. So there's that going into this beginning part of the story. Now, I'll skip over the whole ad thing because I already covered that in the non-spoiler video, and we really don't need to go into it other than definitely check out Spirit Halloween if you want a Jester or Malima costume. But we return to the funeral where we left off last week, where we have this coffin. I thought at the time that this box wasn't that big. There was one of these little music box things that opens when they say the word thimble, and it carries over, and not everybody in the place even knows what's going on. It's just there with Hal and Taisha, who, like I said, she's the button presser. She immediately gets into trouble by trying to, she accidentally I don't know how accidentally that was, but she immediately drops, but kind of half-assedly, Hal, played by Liam, catches her. So this was definitely a trapped box. I mean, it was opened with a word. What would have happened if they had tried to force it open? I don't know. The mist and everything, and the fact that this thing has, as far as we know, we haven't seen it settle since it got disrupted when she reached in and touched the flakes, right? But the mask that they saw in there was of the same kind as Bolaire, played by Talison's mask. And that mask is on Talison's face because they don't know how to, they don't know what to do to get it off. I don't even know if they know where this comes from. These masks are a mystery to everybody, including us. But Bolaire does know a lot about the box, and through him we find out that the box itself is like not new. What is ancient is what they put around it. These halfling plates that read celestial on it. So what's in the box, what's around the box is new, but it's a halfling coffin. And they hear the call of a nightingale. We also find out, and I guess we'll get to that when we get to that, but I also brought up the whole thing where they move from table to table when everybody comes and goes. Look, I actually had somebody in the comment section, they liked it. Maybe they just like more of it, the more realistic, it's not real, the feeling of everybody coming and going, it just, for me, as I'm into the story, it jars me. For other people, it might be, just, oh, it's fun to see everybody come and go. But for me, it rattles my mental, like my focus on what's going on. But this is only the first 4 episodes, and then they'll be going into regular tables. But at some point, they will come all back. You know that. So I would just hope that they can do a fade in and fade out. That's just my own personal. It is. It's nothing against anybody at the table. It's just clinking and glasses. I don't know if it's just one of my mental things of just not liking that. Thimble finally gets to see Thiazi. She's the last one at the funeral. She's been fighting off people who, broke into their hideout, took everything, took the Night Song Stone, and we get another flashback that is really nice. Of she's kind of a wedding gift, but not. It's before the fairy world like closed off. It made me think of like the elves leaving in Lord of the Rings, where magic is being shut down on this side after I'm assuming the Shapers' War or something like that. She accuses Valus of bringing the attackers to their hideout. And you know what? She should, I'm not surprised that she's looking for answers, because she knows that they stole the stone from her. So if she wanted to get it back, it would not be surprising that someone like Valus, played by Ashley, which again, this was a fun little moment of Ashley and Laura having to actually like be mad at each other or suspicious or angry. That never happens at the table. So it was a really interesting moment. But they stole from her, so she's like, well, yeah, you must be you that did this, right? But again, I think Valus, we don't know anything about her other than she's serious about like her whole thing. And so yeah, we have the Thiazi meeting Thimble at his wedding. I love the line, everything about this is ill-advised, which is kind of I think can be said about a lot of things that have happened and things that happened that caused like Thiazi's fate to happen. And that you never know in life where the people that you meet are going to end up, where you start and where you finish. And I kind of talked about that earlier, of like all these people that knew each other at one point, whether in this battle or that battle or wherever. And now they're all coming into this funeral with different opinions and different thoughts, depending on how they all knew him, Thiazi. And again, I did bring up in the non-spoiler one that Thiazi meant different things to different people. We also get the Louise, his Azune character, going to find out like what exactly was behind Thiazi's back, because when he did the detect magic thing, something popped up, but he didn't think to actually. It was in a position where he couldn't really check to see it was there. But once it pinged, right, it was meant to fool them, right? It was meant to make them think that this was all going off without a hitch, right? So we don't know where there was a switch. Was there a switch? Did somebody go into their hideout and replace the thing? Because they found the thing, didn't they? I believe they found the right glyph. So when was it put on his back? Who did it? And then the kind of magic that it required, right? It's an illusion on top of an illusion. It's all meant to look like it's there, almost as if to say, ha, ha, ha. Not only did it not work, but we made you think it would. So there's a lot of layers to just that part of it. Which brought them to the crow, looking for the crow keepers, right? The people that they think can give them the answers to where Sid is, where Casimir is, who betrayed us, when, and why, and where. kind of thinking like they brought up that the thieves are like the mafia. Like they're not the thieves that would do this would be more like they're not like wanton killers that just recklessly do things and take people out. It's more of a pact that they have, like a lot of thieves guilds would have, is a code, and that the people who did this, they're not part of that kind of thing. This is probably not how the thieves guild here would operate. We get more, boy, do we get more with Tyranny and Sam. But the first part of it, when I talked about you can take the demons out of hell, but you can't take the hell out of the demons. So Tyranny meets with her sisters, right? And this to me gives us some more insight into what's really going on in this world. Is that it seems to me like whatever's happening, these demons are ready to make their own moves. That whatever's happening is not what is being presented to us. Now, whether or not the demons are making their own, like thinking of their own plans to fight the light that they're working for, all these people of the light, the Havaliers, if that's their family name, that have these demons working for their light to make them better, to show that demons and all this other stuff, something evil can be, whether or not they think that something evil can be brought to the light, or is it just something they want to control, and are the demons just playing along right now and waiting for their moment? Because Tyranny, as she says in the cooldown, as Whitney says in the cooldown, like she's not like the rest of them. But she knows enough to know that Wikander is not cut out for whatever's going on, and he's a true believer. And what I liked about the cooldown was when they were talking about that he is this true believer, and if these people, as we find out, are up to something else, where they get their power from, who they actually are up to no good. If you have a guy that doesn't know what you're really up to, and you need him on your side because he is dangerous if he decides not to be. And we've seen that in many, many stories where they try to bring the good guy over to the bad side because he's better with them than being an ally to them than an enemy. And depending on the story, that character, a lot of times these characters push away that badness. But I don't know if Wikander is that kind of person, or maybe he's going, what he sees, what we're going to talk about in a minute, is enough to go, okay, my family's, I come from some crazy shit that is wrong and I've been lied to. And whether or not is he the kind of character that will embrace the new truth that he finds out? Because he gets to see more and more of like his grandmother's true self as it goes along. From the moment that he thought he had a deal to save Thiazi, and her just saying, sorry, man, he's got to go. They keep things from him. And in this, they let that all drop. But when she's talking about Taylor, who comes and he's like, I would be your protector. And she's just basically like, get this throw rug out of here. He's obviously, wanting to get into your good graces for his own reasons. And she's not wrong. She sees through it, but it also shows her like true ways that she is. That she's only concerned about her own family, her own power, keeping it any way she can possible. It's very familiar to how things happen in real life. People in power will do anything to keep it, and they look down on anyone else and everyone else. We are not regular people. They are something. We are nothing. And the way her voice changes and everything, going from the sweet grandmother to the regular who she really is. And it's pretty scary. These kind of people are really scary and the real villains in this story. We get to the Pentaveral. No, first it's the museum where Bolaire and Murray, played by Marisha Ray, the dwarf, and Talison's whatever Taliesin is, big curly-haired guy with a mask on that he can't get off. They're there to investigate the coffin that they take out of the funeral. And now the funeral is over. It's been a day. They've been working all night, and they find out um, that this is a coffin, a halfling coffin for a celestial named Obalad. And it's the sister of Mists, the halfling angel of death, which is their version of like the death taking somebody over to the other side, the halfling version of that, of carrying over their halflings over to the other side. Which it's funny that their world had gods, and the mortals killed the gods, and then they make their own religions, and then they make their own made up faith stuff. They actually had gods, and now they're just kind of making up their own stuff. And I just think that that's all really there's a lot of things going on in the world today that this story is bringing up for me personally. So if I'm making connections that you don't see are there, that's okay. This is just my own take on this whole thing. But they said that after the gods were defeated, killed, what have you, the Celestials, which were there, like came, like they were brought into being by the gods, they went feral. And this was a coffin for one of them. They became monsters. And I don't know, why did Thiazi want this so bad? Why was this coffin of a halfling celestial feral monster? Was this one of the ones? Maybe did it not go feral? I don't know. But why did Thiazi want this thing? And why can you drop a tool into it and then not have it go anywhere? And where's the mask that was in there originally? Has it just still not settled? We'll find out, because there's 2 more of these Overture episodes, and then once they start going into their own adventures, which I also want to know, is this going to be like 1 week for one party and another week for another party? Or are they going to do little blocks where 3 or 4 episodes of one party and then 4 weeks of that? It's good for their own scheduling purposes. We're going to see how this all plays out. It's going to be great. And as we're going along and more that I am getting to know these characters and different actors, even though I'm going to always miss our regular cast of people at the table every week, I think that the story that they're building is making me feel less anxious about that kind of change. And I've said this before. I said this in the last thing. Change is hard. Even if you're all excited for Campaign 4, what it's doing, there's this part of me that's still like, you can always go back and rewatch the old campaigns whenever you get that feeling, right? So that's what I'm going to do. That's how I'm going to take it. Plus, we got Vox Machina cartoon, Mighty Nine cartoon. So, all of that. Julian, played by Matt, we get to see more sides of him. After the funeral, he went to a brothel, had some fun with a lady and a guy, and his dad shows up. And definitely see that the father-son relationship here is complicated. Because this is where I'm thinking that Thiazi, because he had a relationship with Julian's dad, and Thiazi is on the wrong side of things, right? To him, I feel like his father caring because Thiazi did something good for their family once and saved his cousin. I feel like there's definitely some jealousy and resentment there for a liking of someone who he sees as just his enemy, and his father liking that and not getting his father looking at him more like, why aren't you? He's probably feeling like his father likes Thiazi more than him. And so that makes him act out. That makes him want to hate Thiazi more, and gives him that idea that if I, like, fuck you, Dad, I'm going after your friend. I'm going to bring him down, this guy. I'm going to prove to all of you that Thiazi is this like piece of shit. So there's more to this whole thing, and whether or not like Julian has like becomes more of a guy who sees other things outside of his own opinion and his own hurt that he feels is righteous and good, and why people don't understand where he's coming from, because good bad guys don't think they're bad guys. And in real life, people don't just become bad guys or bad women or whatever. You make bad choices. You make choices that hurt other people. You make choices that hurt the world, and how other people are going to see that. And one of the things that makes people double down on that is when people don't understand why they did it and not understanding other people's things. Julian can't see things from other people's perspectives because his hurt is really not been dealt with. And we'll see how that plays out as we go along. Murray goes to the Pentaveril, where she finds out that the dean of her college has just been sacked, forced to resign. Or more like how he puts it, right, is that they were going to make sure that the college that is for learning about magic can't have magic cast at it. So the government is trying to control the College of Magic, saying that it doesn't really need to be, you don't actually need to practice magic and try to do magic in the studying of wizardry. And that's just another thing that brought me to things that are going on today of trying to control colleges, trying to control what you learn at college, and who can wield magic. Trying to control all of that. Sound familiar, folks? So there's that going on. Azune has a new boss who, as Brennan puts it on a natural 20 from Louise, this is a guy who automatically thinks he should be in charge. Of course I should be in charge. Those are dangerous people as well. He, on the surface, is just the way he talks. He's not one of those people who is outwardly, you can just get a bad vibe from him. He is just someone who, I would say, runs more like Mike Johnson. That kind of person who smiles and just nods and has got what's going on behind those eyes, and that cabeza of his is full of shit and full of pompous arrogance and pride about who he is and what he is. And of course, look at me. I am God's perfect little creature, that kind of thing. And then we get to Thimble and Caddington and Octus. They leave Hal's house to go find Casimir, which goes sideways fast, and we are actually going to get our first combat next week because of it. They have their first initiative looking for Casimir. They go into a Crowkeeper's bar, and things are going to go south. But we're going to get Pixie fighting. We're going to get Caddington and a wolf fighting. We're going to get to see Octus and his fox do shit. So that's going to be really exciting for next week. But the big event, right? Big event. I'm doing this chronologically. I could have just led with all of this, is the thing that's going on with Sam. And as soon as Whitney, as soon as his dad comes into the room, right? And he's got his blindfold on and Enmity is there. And she says to Tyranny, you're not going to have to keep these secrets much longer. It was already going I kind of thought they were going to kill him. I kind of thought they were going to, and the grandma's speech in the basement, I call it the basement. The grandma's speech to him also made me think, I think they might just be like Joe Pesciing him at the end of Goodfellas right now, where they're going to be like, yeah, come to your promotion. You're going to get made here. And then pop in the back of the head, right? If you haven't seen Goodfellas by now, tough. It's been over 30 years. But it was just the way that Whitney was looking at him. The tone of her voice changed, how she was talking to Wickander. Him going down there like, la, 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 la. I believe I'm getting the promotion. They're going to tell me all the things. And we're going to see the lights. And, we're going to know where I'm going to get the actual filament, the liquid filament. Because they talk about the prismatic retort, where we get the thing that gives us the power of the light. I like how when she asks him about it, he can't really give her an answer. Very religious. I don't really know how it works, but I believe it anyway. They get down there, and her, the grandmother's there, and there's these giant war hounds. And I mean, this all looks bad. This all looks really bad. There's plates on their head. They dispelled magic who walked into the room. This guy is powerless now. This is a kill for her, in my opinion. But instead, what it turns out to be is a revelation of who Wickander really is, who their family really is, and where they get their magic from, which is from a angel inside a sarcophagus, which is not a sarcophagus. It's an Iron Maiden used to hold this thing. And it's a 30-foot tall angel that is Wickander's grandfather, which means his grandmother found ways to have children with an angel, trap him, and use its essence for the light. And his dad, when he takes off the blindfold, the light that comes out of his eyes is what's used to open this Iron Maiden. So Wickander's whole family only has power because they kidnapped an angel and are using it. Now, what are the connections there with the demons? What do they have to do with all of this? I have no idea. But that's where we end for the day. That's episode 2, and holy shit, was that worth it? I still wish that Critical Role would just start at 7 o'clock at night. It would still be 8 o'clock in New York, but that would mean they'd get over around midnight. It would be over around 11 for me, and I'd be able to stay up, because it's when they start on the West Coast at 9, it's 7 there. That means that it's 11 or 12 by the time West Coast people get to finish watching it. They have look. All I'm saying is, if we're not recording these live, let's start them a little earlier. But they won't, and that's their prerogative. And it gives me something to listen to the next day. It's just when I have to stop when it's really good, and we've all been in that moment. I know most of you have, when you're staying up late and the episode is so good and you're like, I have to go to bed, but I won't, and you don't, and then you pay for it later. Either way, excellent stuff. Can't wait to see what happens in episode 3. So don't forget to watch our halftime show on Thursday at the break, and then get ready to catch these after the fact, the full recaps, full of the spoilers. So thanks for watching. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next video. Bye.